We're starting this afternoon the first section of our module. Remember, every research that you do have a definite process, and that process begins with your initialization research proposal. Simply means if you are conceptualizing your research, and I know maybe I know that some of you have started your research. You have picked a topic, you're already working on that very topic. Great. But some who have not yet started, still okay. But for all of us to be on the same page, we need to all begin from here. Initializing research proposal, very important. And that is what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. Now, as we are all welcome to this section, now let's look at research from this perspective. A research is a process, right? Do you agree on that? Please, can you guys respond?
Yes, we agree. We agree, Prof.
Thank you. Being that the research is a process, and this process aims to establish some facts, some knowledge, some information, some idea, right? Now, before we dive into our research, which is academic research, right? Degree research, master's research, whichever level of research you are doing for academic purpose, there is a need for you to be able to understand that is a process. And that process that research you want to do that involves a process. That process have a defined goal you want to reach, you want to get. It's not something that you do in a loop that runs forever, that have no end. That being said right now, we can simply say that research is everyday event. Every day of our life, we involve in one form of research or another. We engage in research in a process, because a process to get some fact, to get some information, to get some idea. And we do research every day. By the time you wake up in the morning, you are trying to, now we are in winter, we're entering winter, right? You want to know how the weather for the day will look like. What do? You use different media to establish that. You can use your television, your radio, go online, and so on and so forth. What are you trying to do? You are trying to do what? To get some knowledge. You are trying to get some information. You are trying to get some idea about the day. Now, if you're living in a places like Johannesburg, right? In a places where there is traffic, you're able to say, okay, which route that you're going to use to drive down to work. That is what? A simple research. Okay, that's okay. From work, I need to go to the mall. Before I go to the mall, let me check what I want to buy at the mall, where I can get the best price, the quality that I need, You go online, you browse the internet. What are you doing? You are doing research. So research is not just academic activity, but it is a human activity. Now, that is a normal research for us. That is a normal research process, right? But now, when we take it to the next level in academic environment, this process, this research that has a process must have a clear direction that will take you to that. Remember, I said before that there is you have a defined, predetermined goal of what you want to achieve. Now, and this process you want, and this research you want to carry on because you want to achieve this particular objective, right? And now there must be a clear direction, a route, that can possibly, that is when thought of, that will take you to that defined objective. And for that objective to be achieved, there are some processes which I talked about that is a process. There are some processes that you must undergo. So to achieve the objective, a process is followed, a process that will enable you to achieve that purpose must be followed. So a research is simply, academic research can simply say it's a structured process. But our daily research, going to the checking the price, checking, doing shopping, online shopping, and everything, that one is unstructured research. But academic research is a structured research. Okay. So now, being that it is a structured research, what do we do? How do we approach it? In looking at the overview of this process, there is a need for you to differentiate, which I've given you through the introduction, the background on the everyday research and academic research, right? Which I say it does not involve a formalized process, structured process to gather information in your everyday research. But academic research follows a structured approach, right? That includes steps such as topic conceptualization, literature review, problem statement, formulation, data collection, analysis, interpretation, and conclusion. This is a detailed aspect of those processes, those steps you must take in doing your academic research. These two kinds of research in our topic right now are structured and structured one. The structured one is two kinds of research we have seen. There's unstructured and the structured one. Okay, so what is, and now within this research, now in the domain of information system where you register, right? What is information system research? Which is what it involves a process to increase academic knowledge in solving individual, social, economic, and many other problems. Meaning that what? That every research that you carry out, every research that you're going to carry out must be able to solve, to add, to address some pertinent issues. That's why you have a problem statement. That's why you have build your objective, you build your questions, that your objectives must be addressed by that very research. So in the realm of academic research, the ability for you as a scholar, for you as a student, to efficiently, confidently be able to do your research, to carry out research, it involves you being able to communicate that very idea. And now, remember that your proposal, which you are working on, which you'll be writing, it will come to a stage where you need to present it, to communicate that idea, to convince the next person of what you are trying to do, of what you want to do, to buy your idea, to gain insight into your idea, and so on and so forth. And that idea must be communicated. And the findings also is very, very important in those in that process, okay? However, both kinds of research aims to inform what decision, very important. So because you have a defined, predetermined objective, right? And that objective that's already predetermined must be able to inform knowledge, able to inform decision. Whatever you find out, must be able to make someone, your participant, your audience, the community, the academic environment, to be able to make what decision makers, to be able to get insight into whatever you have done to make some decisions. So it's not something that you put on the shelf, lie on the shelf, nothing is done about it. However, whatever you're going to find out will be published, will be made known to the public for academians, for professionals, for policymakers, and so on and so on and so different stakeholders, for them to dive into your findings in making what decision. Now, look at the last point. See, the academic research involves reading and writing. Now, let me talk about this. Sometimes some people will say, but I've been reading. I've been reading a lot of literatures. Good. Now you have been reading a lot of literatures. Are you also writing? So the reading part and the writing part goes in hand, in hand together. Goes together, they complement each other. You cannot just be reading without writing, without putting down whatever you have read. Very important. So academic research involves you as a person to read, to read, to read, and also write, and write. That's how we following.
Yes, Prof.
Sure.
Okay. I use this in my screen.
Yes, Prof.
Okay. Okay, so that being said, where's my screen? Okay. Let's see my screen. Okay. That being said, there is a need for you as a person who's doing this research to understand that this research involves a process. And this academic research process involves a series of steps, which I've talked about before, that the researcher, you now be the researcher to follow, to do, or to produce a scholarly work. Like I said, whatever you have found out will not just be lying there without one using it. It must be used for different reasons, for different purposes. Very important. Okay, so now, being that your research will be used for different purposes, now the first process for you to understand in your research is that you need to formulate a topic. This involves developing a research title or topic that defines the focus of the study. So the topic becomes the head, becomes the leading content, the leading figure of what you are trying to do. Because in that very topic that you are going to formulate, it has the component that tells a story that informs one what you are trying to do, or what this study or what this document is all about. So in that level of you formulating your topic, which is the ideation process stage, there is a need of what? Reading and using possible emerging technologies like today, like your AI, to do what? To do some of those things. Like now, um, you can take that your idea that you have to AI and tell AI to give you a topic on that. Very important, very simple. So your idea or formulation of your title topic can come from you reading a whole lot of literatures to understand what is missing. Also, you can also use emerging technologies, which is generative AI, for you to do that. However, when you use generative AI, be able, don't take it as it is into your document. If I give you that very idea, refine that very idea, formulate that very idea to be original, to be yours. Like the same way you can read literatures. You don't need to take that very topic that you have seen in literature and then push it to takes it to your document. No, you need to be able to do what to refine, to reformulate that very topic to suit whatever you want to do within that very context. Okay, so it involves reviewing existing literatures and scholarly work related to that very topic, that very idea, to understand the current knowledge and the gaps in literature. Because every research must to solve a problem, must to inform, must to guide. Now, for that to happen, you need to understand what has been covered in the existing literature, for you to be able to know what is yet to be covered. And that which is yet to be covered becomes the research gap, which you can pitch your research knowledge. Okay? And that becomes what your research topic focuses on. It also involves introduction. The introduction of a research paper provides a concise overview of the study, including the purpose, the background, the objective, the question, and the problem that were identified. Sometimes this is not for you to go off board telling us of things. Be able to do what? Guide the researcher to understand what the study is all about and what the content of what the person wants to read is all about. It also involves, in this process of your research, at this level, involves you having a background, a background or the context. In this instance, you are doing what you are trying to do to establish the historical and as well as the theoretical framework for the research, giving the reader a deeper understanding of your topic. Now, sometimes students make mistake between introduction and the background of the study. So when you are when at the stage of you having you have initialized, you have come up with a topic. Now you have come to that level of introduction. You have done it. You're giving the reader a concise view of what the study is all about and what the person is expected to read. Also, very important for you to be able to give a historical context of that topic, of where you're gonna do it, and so on and so forth. Of course, definition of terms, which is very important. All those specific terminologies that you come across, you be able to have a section where you define them, where you talk about them. And this is not a place where you're gonna be doing another literature review, like I've seen some people. No, that those key concepts, one line, it's okay. Also, it also involves you providing a motivation. Now, remember, a proposal is a proposal. A proposal is what you intend to do. It's not what you have done. And now, you need to be able to convince the reader that what you want to do, what it is worth doing, so that the effort you are going to put in wouldn't be a waste. For that to happen, there is a need for you to provide the motivation, which explains the reason behind you conducting that very study. And this reason is not a personal reason. It should be what? Academic reasons. Okay. And then providing the content to show that what has been done, which you have talked about, which you have identified the gap, and then what have not yet been done. By so doing, you're able to tell the reader that a lot might have been covered in this very this area of my study. However, this area is yet covered. The problem statement also provides you to identify a specific issue or the gap in knowledge that the research aims to address, framing the research within a clear context. Very important, guys. Now, sometimes you see some documents, people, when they write problem statement, you ask yourself, okay, but there is a confusion there sometimes for people, for students. Okay, but why is the problem here? But now, in this case right now, we are not talking about you see a visible problem. No, we're all talking about that from your literatures you have read, you have identified what has been covered, you have seen the area that have been covered, you have seen what the researchers have said, but now there are things that have not been said. Now, so now in this case right now, what you are what you are simply doing, you are doing what is called more exploratory kind of research. There is no tangible research like the time when there was a load shedding. It's obvious that it's load shedding, but in your own case right now, do you see a problem you are trying to address? There is no tangible problem you are seeing, but through your writing, the way you build the argument, you want to tell the reader that a lot has been covered, but much is still not yet covered in this area. No, by what I advise students to do is this: that when you want to write a problem statement, look at this component. You should look at the positive aspect, what others have discussed on that very topic, on the positive aspect. Look at the negative aspect. Look at the neutral aspect. So this three dimension, the positive, the negative, and the neutral dimension, is very important. By the time you are able to see those three balances, you're able to say, okay, now you can able to pitch your test, okay, that people have talked about the benefit of whatever the topic you are, the area of the topic you're talking about. You have also bring about the area of a negative part. But there's also some people who are neutral about it, they are not here or there. Now, now you bring it down to the particular area where you are doing this research. That let's say in South Africa, there's little research in that, but the research you have read is all over the world, from different part of the world, is saying the negative and the positive. But within South Africa, Southern South Africa, little has been done. That is where you are coming in right now. So now you're exploring the problem people have solved, the negative aspect, the positive aspect, the neutral aspect of that very research topic. You are now bringing it down to what? To where you are doing it. On that aspect, nothing here and there, you have been done on everything. However, in your particular area, it has not been done. By so doing, you are able to tell the reader that a lot has been done. However, there's still a gap to be filled, because people that have done it, they have been looking at this particular area. They have not covered this area based on what they have not covered and what is left out. You are trying to cover that very particular area. That becomes your work, your problem statement. Research questions and objectives are more or less the same. What I tell people, what you should understand about problem statement, research objective. Okay, and research question. Your research questions are what? A specific inquiry that the study seek to answer. When your research objective is simply what? The aim the study wants to achieve, the intended direction of the intended aim you want to achieve. So now, in your research question, right, it has a question mark. What, how, using that kind of keywords, right? What, how, and so on and so forth. Now, under your research objective, it's an intention, it's a goal to determine, to explore, to understand, to examine. You have not done it, but you want to do it. That is your what? Research objectives. And now, be able to have research objective that matches the same thing with your research question. Meaning if you have 4 research objectives, you also have 4 research questions. That now your research question is inverse. Remember, if the question has a question mark, then your research objective is an intention, which is what? A statement that shows what you want to achieve. Thank you. Are we following, guys? Remember, guys. Okay. Now, in the same line of research process, also remember all this things I've talked about. I've never mentioned about citation. But one will be wondering. So whether I'm writing introduction, I'm writing a problem statement, I'm writing the motivation, and so on and so forth. Don't I need citation? The answer is what? You need what? Citation in all these things we have talked about before now. Now, a citation, a proper in-text citation acknowledges the source of the information, of the knowledge used in the study, providing what? Credibility and supporting the argument presented in the paper, in the document. So a citation simply means what? You acknowledging the source of your information, despite that you have paraphrased, that you have remodeled that very sentence, that very whatever you have read into your own. You still need to acknowledge what? The original source. So irrespective of where you are from the only place you don't need to put, the only two places you don't need to put, the only place you don't need to put citation is on your abstract, um, um, your objective, your question, your conclusion. But I've seen some people putting conclusion, citation in conclusion, but that is fine. But your abstract, no, nothing like citation. Now, it's very important for you to be able to build your whatever we have talked about before now, to be able to build all those things within what I say, within a reasonable, a sufficient number of citations. Don't go overboard, citing everything that you write. No, that's not what I say. That's not what I mean. So it's all about you, what you have read somewhere, you are paraphrasing, you put the source. Also, you can add your own voice, the researcher's voice, the student voice to whatever you are writing. You have cited this passage of your paragraph of this sentence in your paragraph. You have cited it. You extend whatever you are saying, adding your own for now, because you have cited, you understand what this author said, those authors said. Now you're able to extend it, and then you by the time you are extending, what are you trying to do? You are adding your own voice. That is well allowed, and that is what you should be able to do. Don't cite everything that the whole document of your work is everything. There is no voice. Your own voice not there. No. Always have your own voice within your sentences, within your document. But don't go overboard. Write everything off head, thinking that okay, no, I'm a guru in this area. I don't need to acknowledge anyone. No. Even when you are a guru in what you are writing, the topic you are writing, you are not writing it for, you're not reporting it to the management or whoever. You're reporting to academic community. And for that purpose, you need to cite other people who have also written, who have also said something in whatever you are writing. Guys, I have less than a minute. So if this thing disconnects, please reconnect with the same details. Okay, so we can finish. Now, in the same vein, okay, let's yeah, okay, so let me continue so that we can wind down the time. Okay, so in the same vein, it's also very important for you to also have a reference list at the end of the research document, research paper, provides a comprehensive list of all the sources cited in the document. That is your reference list. So as I was saying, now it's very important for you to be able to provide a list of all the documents that you have cited, all the citations you have used in your document, and that comes at the end of the document. Now, there is a difference between referencing and bibliography. Now, your referencing simply gives you the people that you use in the work, but your bibliography does not do so. Rather, it gives everything that you have, all the sources you have read, even when you didn't cite them in your document. So the university um, manual, postgrad manual enables you to use your references, your reference list, not a bibliography. Okay. Now, within this process of you doing your research, you should be able to, we shall talk about the referencing part. Then I continue right now. And citation part, I continue right now in your methodology. Now, it's very important for you to be able to make a choice, to make a choice between number of methodologies that can be used. And remember, we have we have a quantitative, we have qualitative, we have mixed method, right? Now, in your document, you should be able to do what? To do this. This research methodology alone is very broad, but we're going to see them in detail. Remember, we're talking about conceptualization of your proposal. So you should be able to understand what method is suitable for your work at the time of your conceptualization, at the time of your initialization of your topic. You're able to know you can't get a topic that you don't know where it's going to fit in. What methodology you're going to use on it, which also, remember I talked about, is very deep, which also drives you to be able to seek to understand who are the people, the participants. Are you going to use a primary data, secondary data, or even a literature review method? That is very important at the time of you conceptualizing your topic. Because sometimes what people do, they will conceptualize a topic without knowing the methodology that is suitable for that very topic. And now, when the time for them to make a choice in the methodology to use, they will find out that the topic they have chosen and the methodology they might use may not be able to give them. Of course, every methodology can work, right? Depending, can choose in between this string, right? But now that if they choose this, the sample, the population it's not gonna fit in to that. So, but if you're able to conceptualize also your methodology at the beginning, that will enable you to filter down your potential participant that will be used. So all those thinking conclusion have should be able to be concluded to take place at the level of your initialization stage of your proposal. Don't wait to make a choice by the time the study has progressed so much. Now you are going back to make a decision between the methodology to use. No, make those choices at the beginning of your topic conceptualization, because some topics may require you to use this methodology, right? When you get access to the participant, may be challenging, right? Or the participant, get access to the participant. The challenges can be the complexity, the grouping, like there are some topics you should that will require you to use minors, right? What do you do in that? Because the topic is so interesting, but now you have to use minors, which is still okay. It's doable, but now you involving those minors require another process. It's different from you using non-minors. So that's why you have to make those choices at the time of your make the choice of your research methodology at the time of your initialization stage of your study. So now, in line with that, what I've just said right now, you need to be able to say, okay, if you're making a choice, you have three choices to make. And what is what qualitative study, which uses non-numerical data, which can pictures, audios, and so on and so forth. Anything that is not numerical goes into what? To your qualitative method, which which can be an interview, an observation, and so many others. Under your quantitative, which deals with what? Numeric data and a small volume. You're looking at large number, quality, this quality, and this quantitative, massive, right? Mix, which is a combination of the first two. When you're using a bit of interview and a bit of questionnaire, that becomes your what? Your mixed methods. Okay. Now, in these categories of methods, right, there's also after I talked about interviews and questionnaire, which all being categorized under what? Data collection. Now, the kind of data you're gonna collect should to match the topic you're choosing, the method you're choosing, and so on and so forth. Right? And also the tools. Now, if you collected quantitative data, there are quantitative tools to use for the analysis. Now, if you have got your qualitative data you collected method, right? Which is, let's say, your interview qualitative, right? Which can go with your different software tools like your SaaS and all the rest of them. Your quantitative which is SPSS, and which you collected your questionnaire, your survey, which can be analyzed using your what? Your SPSS, your spreadsheet, and so many others, which is in the mix of it, which is the mixed method. When you have collected, you may analyze your interview with SARS, and then analyze your survey data with SPSS. Can be at last the eye for your quantitative, for your qualitative, and SPSS for your quantitative. Guys, are we on the same page? Are we following, guys? Okay. Let me assume that we are following when people are not talking. Okay, so now we continue to the next one on the scope. Very important. In your initialization stage, conceptualization stage of your proposal, be able to define your scope and your what? Limitations. Define the research boundary, which is all about the scope. For example, let's say you're doing a study looking at generative AI adoption in higher education. Automatically, the scope of your study will be the higher education, right? In this case, the participant, which is still part of the scope, can be lecturers and students or one of them. You see, higher education, that's where you're focused of this generative AI. Students or lecturer are your participants, and you're talking about generative AI. You're talking about generative AI, talking about higher education, you're talking about you're focusing on generative AI, higher education, and lecturers or, or students. And then also identify any possible limitation. Now, in this limitation, I've seen some people talking about the study will be limited on money, financial. There's no money to go and travel to get. Yes, but those things can be personal limitations. We're looking at um, what where the study is limited to. So in this case right now for higher education, um, adoption of AI, generative AI, higher education, right? You have defined the scope. The limitation is where you are, what limits the study. In this case right now, what that limitation can be is on the part of what you are trying to fence yourself that this study is limited within this area, that you are not talking about the implementation of higher education, of AI higher education, like bringing the device. You're only looking at maybe the perception of the adoption of the users, what informs them to use it, their challenges and all the rest of them. You're able to streamline your study, that look at where I am not going to go beyond higher education, right? I am not going to be looking at the implementation part and all the rest of it. So this is very important in yourself for you to have a scope and limitation. And there's another part called delimitation. These are very important when you are conceptualizing. Where am I going to do this thing? Who are my participants? Which area am I going to focus? So that what? you don't go off the bound. Your study is focused. It have a defined boundary where your findings will be able to be applied. Okay, and that is very, very important. So, having said that on the scope and the limitation of your study, is very important for you as a person to be able to understand there are challenges in whatever we have talked so far. In a research process, there are challenges that are there which you might also face. And one of that, which as a beginner, someone with a little experience on research, as emerging researcher in academic environment, very important. One of the challenges that students face in initialization stage of their research is what? Identifying a clear research topic and problem. Which I've talked about how you can be able to do that to overcome this challenge, right? Using your literatures and emerging technologies. And also difficult in literature review. Which literature? How do I go about with my literature? How do I get literatures for this topic? And now, when you, if whether imagine when you go online, you find out when you, one of the ways for you to be able to filter the literature that suits your topic. Because first of all, you are putting a topic, you need to also find literature that within that very topic. When you go to, for example, on Google, you type down your topic, right? You go on Google and then end it up with PDF. Now, automatically, it's going to solicit, it's going to extract the PDF documents that pertains to that very topic. Some may be useful, some may not be useful. And now there are emerging technology, emerging all these generative AI that are out there that can also assist you to get literatures within that very topic. Another challenge is choosing an appropriate research methodology, which I talked about before now. That you should be able to identify that at the beginning. But identifying that at the beginning is also a challenge. Okay, but despite being a challenge, you should be able to do it. You don't need to go into your research without having any research methodology. Also, understanding the rules of engagement in the research and research and writing as an academia, very important. Now, there is a difference between you writing a report to your boss, to the management, and you're writing academic research. Many times students find it difficult to distinguish between those two. But let me put it this way. Academic research is backed by literatures. It's not a story, it's not a poem. Literature is what backs your academic right there. After I talked about it before, that when I'm talking about the citation aspect, the ability to cite, to provide to provide support to what you are saying, even when you are an expert in that area. Very important for you to also bring in what? Literatures to support that. When you are writing a report in your organization, you don't really need to provide any citation. For academic research, you need to provide citation, and they are very important. It also shows a reader that you are not writing imaginarily. You are not writing up on abstract, out of like based on imagination, based on what you think and what you can understand. Rather, you are writing based on an informed literature that you have read. So provide that. So always when you write, back up your writing with citation and also bring your own voices, writer's voice, academic voice, and researcher's voice into it. Not everything, like I said before, not everything that you write you must cite, but there should be enough citation. You write, you cite, you bring you expand that which you have cited in your own way. You also write again, you cite, you expand it. From there, you are combining between your tone, your voice, and research and literature's support. Guys, are we following? Hello, guys, are we following? It's like I'm alone here. Can guys, can you guys talk? I can see that you're saying yes, but those emojis, it's not acceptable. Can you talk? Okay. Also, another challenge is adherence to proper steps and processes in the academic writing. Now, this one also, it enhances the clarity, organization, and communication of information in your document, in your manuscript, right? Test dissertation, ultimately improving the quality of what? Of the research outcome. Now, in this case, rather, you are being provided a template to be used. Please don't find it difficult to follow those templates, right? But that template is there to guide you, to tell you what you need to consider, to focus on in your proposal. Then adhere to it. And then at every stage, you need to be able to adhere to the process in writing your research review. You need to adhere to the steps in writing your research methodology. Research is a process. That process has been established. You don't need to change it in a way, but you can modify it. But you have to keep the original process that has been laid down. Now you can add on, you can build on what is already in there. Another challenge is understanding the key components and the structure of academic writing. Because the process, right, such as developing an idea, conducting literature, and discussing your findings, that is a challenge. Because the process, people have done that research you are doing. People have written dissertation, thesis in that area, in information system, for example, right? Then look at what they have done and learn from what they have done to do your own. That's the way they have done, the way they have cited it. They do the same thing. And that is it. By so doing, you are adhering to a system structure that is there to do your own. Very important, essential adhering process provide that very platform where you have a very high quality research proposal. When you're able to adhere to adhere to these processes and as well as confront these challenges, you will be able to present a high quality proposal that will scale any panel where it can be presented to. Okay, guys. So, and that is it. In conclusion, before I conclude, any question? Okay. In the absence of no question, and it says here, in conclusion, that establishing a solid foundation for research proposal is crucial to ensure clarity, and adherence to in presenting the research objective and methodology. Your ability for you to have this solid ideas, information, building on this solid on this foundation of a good proposal, of initialization, having a proper initialized topic through the process of um, literatures, reading, using available um, uh, AI tools and everything, you're able to do what? To have a coherent proposal that have a defined objective, that have a defined, a well thought out research methodology. Also, articulating the research objective with precision and relevance. With precision and relevance is essential to demonstrate that the intended outcome and contribution of the research. Now, when we're going to talk about them in details, when you're able to have a very good research objective, right? Everything will follow. The contribution will be clear, the outcome will be clear, and so on and so forth in your proposal. So clearly defining the research problem and the setting basic research questions will guide you, we give you the direction. We provide the direction for your research and not for you, and we contribute to its overall significance. Properly citing sources and then compiling a comprehensive reference list will enhance the credibility and academic integrity of your research proposal. Now, very important. What I can advise you guys when it comes to this citation and the references, I advise you to use EndNote because EndNote makes it easier for you not to mix out on any document you have cited. And then, because sometimes without using EndNote, if you're doing it manually, you find out that when you can cite a document without having it on your reference list. But with EndNote and all those tools, you can be able to have everything intact. As soon as you cite, it automatically gives you the reference to add the document, the document on your reference list. Thank you. Any questions?
Question.
Okay.
I wanted to ask about the citation using EndNote. Is it still a must that we must use the page numbering?
Okay. Page numbering is not a must. It's not a must. You should use page numbering. It's only a must where you do direct quotation. Okay. When you let's take example. You read my document, right? And now you take the way I've written it and you put it into your work. That is direct quotation. In that case, page number is compulsory. But when you read my work and you paraphrase it to your own and you have cited me, page numbering is not a must.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Any other question?
Prof.
Okay, thank you.
Now I have a request.
Okay.
How about we reschedule the time for class?
Sorry. We are recording this. Hold on. Let's talk about that if we are outside the recording.
All right, okay.
Okay, any other question, guys? Okay, in the absence of question, let's